Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Street Fighter V VEGA, or BALROG if you are looking at an international release. And I am pretty excited about this release because I really like VEGA. I like him a lot as a character. He's one of my favorites, not just for Street Fighter, but in general. I just really love the character design. Simple is sometimes all it takes, and his is a great simple design. It looked really good in a lot of the photos when they first showed it off, but then once it came out, it was somewhat questionable in some ways. Is it any good? Well, some things are great, some things not so much, so I suppose we should just talk about it. So, let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands just about 17 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to 6 3/4 inches, which does seem a little bit tall. Typically speaking, the SH Figuarts line is closer to a true 1/12 scale. However, when I put him up against Ryu, I guess maybe not. He looks about right. I'm pretty sure he should be about that size compared to Ryu, so maybe it's okay. I don't know. I didn't realize that, but it seems like maybe he's okay, not too tall. Here he is up against your Mattel 1/12 scale figure. I use that term loosely. He makes Batman look small, so that's a little weird. That's definitely weird. He should not be taller than Batman, as far as I can remember. I could be wrong. I didn't check VEGA's official height. And here he is up against a Marvel Legends or Hasbro 1/12 scale figure. A little bit closer in line with Gambit there. I don't know. It seems kind of big. I don't really have a problem with it because he scales with Ryu, so that's really all that matters. Okay, first impressions on this guy, the aesthetic in general. Not bad. It did look better in the original photos, which is not surprising because that's typically how these things go. I will say the biggest drawback on this guy is how small they made his upper torso. I understand making his waist small, that makes sense, but his chest is particularly small, and it is the Street Fighter V look, so he should have oversized hands and feet, generally speaking, but he also should have a very broad chest, very V-shaped torso, and he does have a little bit of the V-shape, but the chest is really petite. You can see it's almost the same size as just one of his legs. He's got very bulky legs and a very small torso, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Otherwise, I think it's okay. It does capture the Street Fighter V look pretty well. I don't know. I really wish they wouldn't do the Street Fighter V stuff. Plus, if memory serves, some of the releases haven't been Street Fighter V based at all. I'd have to check on that, but if you're going to do the classic look, just do the classic look. Get the license for that. Make it the Alpha look, make it the Turbo look, make it the Street Fighter 2 look. I don't care. But Street Fighter 4 and 5 have such a weird style that, I mean, I know it's just an exaggerated version of the regular Street Fighter styling with the big hands and feet and whatnot, but it definitely doesn't quite match the other styles, so I kind of wish it'd be a little bit more consistent. But whatever, that's neither here nor there, really. It is what it's supposed to be. The paint job on the yellow is way better than I thought it would be. I'm pretty okay with that. The paint job for the snake seems half-assed because it's definitely tampography. It's something they laid down, but the way they did it, you can see a seam on the front of the bicep. You can kind of see where the scales don't line up at the bottom. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. It's okay wrapping around the side there. If we can focus, that'd be good. But then if you look at the back especially of the arm, there's a lot of bald spots. It's okay here. It's okay around the front for the most part. I don't think I've ever noticed the snake not having scales across the top there. That seems odd, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. The one thing that does bug me though is the abdomen section snake, part of the snake, should be a lot more visible. And it looks like they just screwed up the angle. And so they're like, well, we screwed the back part up completely and it shoots straight down, but we still need it there so it shoots straight over then. And neither of those should be. It should be wrapping around from up here, closer to like up here, and coming around across his abdominals a little bit higher up. So that's definitely a bummer. And I know it seems like a small thing, but it's like one of VEGA's key attributes is having the snake tattoo on there. So having that not be right is definitely a bummer. The claw is nice and shiny. The gold parts look pretty good. The hair does have some shading in it, though the ponytail part of the hair is a lot darker than the rest of the hair. And having the articulation here is okay, but having a couple of hair pieces, even just two, one that's more straight like this and one that's more curved, would have been really nice. And that doesn't happen, so that's kind of a bummer. But all in all, it does have shading on the skin. It looks pretty good. The face is done pretty well. I will say though that his eyes do appear to be slightly crossed. Maybe not technically, but they are definitely close to being crossed eyes. So that's kind of a bummer. But all in all, it looks pretty good. I'll give it a 7. I think it could have been a lot better very easily, but it's not bad. As far as accessories go, we do have the unmasked head. Those just swap out. We have some hands. On the claw side, we have the fist hand, and the claw is removable. Then we have the open hand, and of course the claw can swap onto that. And then we have the fence climbing hand, again swappable. Then we have the fist hand without the claw, as if it had been broken in a match. And then for the unclawed hand, we have the fist, the style pose hand, and the fence climbing hand. That's it for his body. We do have his fence accessory, which is honestly not particularly good. It seems like they just really did about the bare minimum that they could do. It's two of the same piece stacked on top of each other with these pieces right here. And having the teeth at the top, the keys, and on the side, just seems really, really not great. Like, how many people are going to buy extras of these to put them together? I don't think many. So I think this should have just been, even if they had to make it 2 parts to fit in the package, just make it more finished looking. This does not look very good. And yeah, he can fit on it, but there's not a whole lot of, he's not that much smaller than it, so climbing on it's not going to look great. It's good that they made it, I guess, but that's about it. And then lastly, let me get this out of the way. It takes up a lot of space, doesn't add much value. We have our card backdrops again, which come totally mangled in the package. You can see how bent up and folded they are, and it's kind of a bummer. But it's a cool idea, just poorly executed. And honestly, I doubt many people are ever going to use these because they take up so much space on a display. So those still suck, but he does have alternate hands and alternate face. Total missed opportunity though, because his alternate face is completely blank, which is fine if you have more, but we don't have any style for him at all, and he's known for having quite a bit of style. So no like licking the lip pose like Soda did or anything like that. And no rose for him to hold, which is a classic thing for VEGA. So accessory wise, he's only gonna get a 6 for me. The hands are nice. The head is only okay. The backdrop and fence are not particularly good. So not the best in terms of accessories. Kind of bummed out about that. No claw swipe, nothing. It's just very bland, kind of a lacking release. Alright, as far as the articulation goes, the hair does have a ball hinge here and a little hinge up here. This hinge is okay. If you don't go too far, it doesn't look terrible, but I don't know how much that's going to be really helpful, but you do have that hinge there. Does it rotate at all? Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a swivel to it, but not much. Then the ball hinge here, again, not very useful because the hair is still mostly straight, so you're not going to gain too much from that, and it still looks terrible being a different color. The head is on a double ball peg on top of the neck. There's not a ton of range, unfortunately. It's still very limited due to the way they seated it, but it is in there. Neck is also on a ball peg. You can move it around. It's okay. It takes a little bit of force because you're kind of forcing plastic against the other pieces, but it can be done, so it's not a big deal. That's all right. For the shoulder, we have a horizontal butterfly. Not something we normally see. It doesn't have any extra range. It's not like one of those ones like Broly where it moves all over the place. Just the horizontal one. I'm personally okay with that. I think that's fine. He can still bring his arm forward. Doesn't come across the chest at all. But he can also raise his arm that much on its own. And then using that, we can raise it all the way, or you can rotate it around and really get it up there. And it makes him look much more natural. Bringing the lats up back here looks kind of good. So that's okay. So yeah, the arm is connected on a ball peg on top of that butterfly, and then a hinge. They did the ball hinge inside the shoulder rather than making it part of the shoulder. So you do get gapping that you wouldn't otherwise have, and that's a bummer. But his is one of the better examples of how you can do it without it looking terrible. So that's okay. Like I said, you still get good enough range. However, as far as the bicep swivel goes, you can kind of spin it around on that ball hinge, but just barely. So the only bicep swivel you get is the elbow swivel down here, which is part of the double jointed elbow. So I guess it's triple jointed. You get decent range, and then you can just rotate it down here. But that's pretty minimal. So that's definitely a bummer. Really wish for the Street Fighter figures they would not do this fully sculpted part. I don't care for that. Yeah, it looks slightly better, but posability is definitely hindered by that, so that's a bummer. For the wrists, we have ball hinges, nothing special there. Not much range either. You can see there's not really anywhere for them to go, just a little bit. For the torso, double ball peg. Pretty good range out of the torso. I'll take it. I like that. That's nice. Another ball peg for the lower torso. Again, really good range. This part is floating, and it has a swivel where that peg's on and a little ball hinge. So that's pretty movable. I like that. I don't like, however, and you can see right here, he doesn't have a top to his pants. So you're going to have to constantly keep that in mind as you're posing him. You cannot let this ride up at all or it looks terrible. It's just not a great situation. I don't think they had to do that. I mean, we've seen lots of figures where they have pants that aren't completely split like that. So that's very strange. Very, very strange. But that is the case. So is that a single or a double? I think, yeah, that's another double ball peg actually down there. So double here, double up here. For the hips, it's basically what we've been seeing on the Dragon Ball figures. It's a couple of hinges kind of put together in a swivel. So you can bring the leg all the way out to the side, no problem at all. Bringing it forward is not bad, except you can see the V shape for the crotch pushing the leg out to the side a little bit. You do get a little bit of motion here. It's a ball peg where the thigh connects to the hip, but you're not allowed to bring it forward. It doesn't really... can't go forward too much, so you have to go out at an angle, which isn't a total deal breaker, but it is something to be aware of. You do get your thigh swivel here. The leg does go back pretty far. It's not bad. A lot of this figure isn't bad, it's just not particularly good in a lot of ways. We have our single jointed knee, but you get really good range out of it. I'll take that. It's not the worst thing we've ever seen. It's definitely not the best. You do get rotation at the top and at the bottom a little bit, but that's not really going to do you any good. And then for the ankle, you can bring the foot all the way back. That's good. It's your standard hinge. Pretty far forward, really far. I like that. You can rotate it and get yourself an ankle rocker, and you have a decent toe hinge. It's not that helpful, but it's decent. So yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too good, but it's not too bad. So articulation-wise on this guy, I'm going to give him... well, I guess it works more or less. I'll give him an 8 for articulation. Really, the only downside to this guy is the poor choice allotment. They've allotted their poor choices poorly on this guy. It's not bad in any way, and once you pose him, it gets better, but there are definitely some things that could be better. I think really the biggest thing for me is if they had just done a better job with the snake tattoo and poofed out his chest a little bit. He has a very small chest and not a great snake tattoo, but otherwise I can look past the issue. Oh, he's also fairly shiny. His legs are quite shiny. I guess you could just say he's got shiny pants on, but I don't think he's ever been drawn to actually look shiny. So yeah, you know, like I said, it's not particularly good, but it's not bad. I'll give it an overall 7. I think it's a solid enough release. If you wanted it before, go ahead and get it. You won't hate it, but I don't think it's going to sway anybody over. It's pretty much the middle of the pack for the SH Figuarts Street Fighter figures. Some of them have been exceptional, some of them have been stinky poo-poo, and this one is somewhere in between. It's good enough. I don't hate it. Personally, I enjoy it, but objectively, it could have easily been a whole lot better. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, that's okay too, but you might want to subscribe because I have thousands of videos already on the channel. New ones coming out just about daily, so make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.